Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Aventus by Creed. You get it? Because it's all about pineapple with this one. Haha. Hi everybody, welcome back to Tunes Reviews. Today we're going to talk about Creed Aventus. I already have a review of this on my channel. I do. But that was some years ago, and I was just a wee little pipsqueak then. So we're going to go over this now as kind of a celebratory thing for me having done this for a long time, reviewing that is. So has my taste changed over like the last 7 years, which I believe is when I initially reviewed this fragrance? I don't know if it has. I think it has. It most definitely has. So, welcome again, and we are going to be talking about what is considered to be the cream of the crop in the fragrance community. What do I think? Now, Creed Aventus was released in 2010, and right off the bat, there was mass hysteria about how wonderful this fragrance was. The bottle sizes used to be, I believe, a 30 ml, a 75 ml, a 120 ml, and a 250 ml flacon. Now we have the additional 100 ml that's taking away the 120 ml, and I believe you can get Aventus in a 1000 ml flacon. It's insane, it's crazy, but there's got to be people out there that just love the fragrance enough to get it, especially if you found a batch that you enjoy. Now, what does that mean, a batch? Well, we all know fragrance connoisseurs that have been involved with Creed for some years now, that their batch varies. So even though they're using and utilizing the same kind of notes and raw materials, the fragrance ends up somehow, some way, being different. All right, there goes the box. And the wind. And there will be chimes. Oh, all right. Aventus is supposed to represent Emperor Napoleon's journey, basically, to success. I can't really speak on that. I wasn't there for that whole thing, that whole spiel, clearly. Otherwise, I'd be a vampire or a mummy. But I will say this. Aventus is one of the most crowd-pleasing fragrances I've ever owned. Bar none. That being said, it doesn't mean that I agree with it being deemed King Aventus. I do believe that it is a well-rounded fragrance. When I found a specific batch that I enjoyed, which was, by the way, SO1. I don't love the fruitier batches. I love the smokier, more leathery birch tar batches with the added pineapple note. So essentially this fragrance is pineapple, apple, birch tar, some smoke, and some leather. Okay? When I found fragrances that are produced by Creed, that everyone starts to have this long-running narrative about how different batches make such a big difference, and then you see some of these ZO blah blah and XO blah blah ending up going for like $1,000 or more for a 120 ml bottle that, by the way, I've owned in the past, and it's nothing to write home about. That's where I start to get really annoyed by the whole the continued hysteria about Aventus, because while it is a fragrance that is very, very good and does its job, okay, again, with a specific batch, my batch being, again, SO1, or some of the other ones that I just mentioned are very good as well. But when you get the fruitier batches, when they only last 4 or 5 hours and don't have a whole lot of balls to them, I think that they kind of pale in comparison. The smokier, richer batches with that really nice fruity citrus and not citrus, but the fruity apple and the pineapple at the top really adds a nice complexity and depth to the fragrance. Without those smoky elements and the leathery element, it just ends up being another citrus scent to me that's nothing really all that special. Now, over the years, I will say that this is and continues to be one of the most complimented, one of the ones that people ask what I'm wearing the most, one of the ones that tends to get a lot of positive attention. And if you buy the fragrance knowing that that's what its purpose is, that it's something that you'd use for going out or using in a college class setting or going to the bar, or whatever, and just take it for what it is, a compliment magnet, whatever that purpose of just getting a little bit of positive attention, then I think that you can enjoy the fragrance. But if you're going to go into it being a niche snob or something like that, thinking that this is going to be the most complex thing on the market today, I think you're going to be very disappointed. Don't get it twisted. This fragrance is good for what people say that it is. In fact, it's great. But what it isn't is a piece of artwork. It's not art. It's just a really nice scent. Now, I teeter-totter with my enjoyment with this scent, and I have to remind myself that it's only within our platform on YouTube and or sometimes Fragrantica, but even they have kind of laid off this scent a little bit. It's YouTube primarily, where this thing is just beaten into the ground with how much it's talked about. And it's annoying, it's like when you hear a song over and over again on the radio and it just gains so much popularity and you've heard it so many times that you just get annoyed by it and you can no longer enjoy it. It's the same concept to me. So when people say, never mind that it's discussed so much and just enjoy it for what it is, yeah, there is an element of truth to that. And that really is the bottom line, is if you enjoy it, then it doesn't matter what other people think anyways. However, it does have that same concept that's... with the music, if you hear it over and over again, or a television series, it can get a little annoying. But like I said, I have teeter-totter with this fragrance. It used to be one of my favorites back in the day. When you look at my initial review of this, and if you look at my initial top 20 fragrances of all time, you will see that this does make it very high on that list, and it does get a really good score for me when I initially reviewed this. And again, at the time, this fragrance had only been out for a couple of years. While it was right off the bat considered one of the greatest fragrances in our YouTube community, I think it's only gotten progressively more obnoxious with how often it's talked about, as if there's no other scent on God's green earth that could possibly compare to this when it comes to spring, summer, whatever, or even, a signature scent, when I think, in my opinion, that is next to the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I can list fragrances off the top of my head right now without having written them down or even contemplated it too much that are so much better and so much more complex. Jubilation 25, Memoir Man. You want to go to like the House of Healy and talk about Mint Fresh is a very nice transparent, well done mint that works way better than this does in the summertime. Bigarade Concentré, which is one of my favorite, most unique citruses I've ever come across, with that utilization of the citrus and the hay note. The list goes on. Muscat Vajor, on and on and on and on. Costa Azura by Tom Ford, I don't think is necessarily better, but it's on par with this, where it's a fragrance that does its job with mingling well on your skin in the heat, but getting compliments. So that being said, I don't think that this fragrance necessarily deserves how long the hype has lasted, but I do respect it for what it did do. I'm not necessarily one of those people that's like bending to it changed the game. I don't think it did. I think that it is a very well balanced, well done fragrance, again, when you get a good batch. That's the thing that's the most freaking obnoxious. If you want to start a discussion, talk about how you have to rely on sampling batches in order to get a good one, and for such an astronomical amount of money too, because this little beauty here costs anywhere between, if you're getting a 30 ml, I believe it's like $120, all the way up to like $550 for the 4 ounce or the 120 ml ounce that you can find on places like FragranceNet. For the House of Creed, Aventus is not my favorite. It's not my second favorite. It's not my third favorite. If you were to ask me, hey Tim, what are your favorite Creed fragrances? You all know I love Royal Oud. It's my signature scent. It has been for years. 5 years now. More than 5 years. Creed's Millésime Imperial was my second purchase from Creed, and stands to be one of the greatest summer fragrances in my mind. Spice and Wood is one of my all-time favorite scents. If I could afford a big giant thing of that, I would wear that, probably, and only that. I love that scent. And I love Green Irish Tweed. So here we are now, nearly 10 years after its release, and almost 10 years after my initial review of it. And what can I say? I think it's great for going out. I think it's a compliment magnet. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful scent. However, again, I can think of so many others that I personally enjoy way better. It doesn't mean you have to, but again, I think that it's a misplaced gesture thinking that this is the greatest fragrance of all time, King Aventus. I just don't agree with it. I don't think that it's complex enough, that the batch bullshit alone is enough for it to not even qualify in my mind. But that being said, I would give this scent a solid 9 out of 10. It's wonderful, especially, again, going based off of my batch. So I do think that it is a wonderful, wonderful addition to anybody's arsenal when it comes to just a fragrance to enjoy on a nice spring or summer day. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. This has been Tunes Reviews. See ya.